Okay. I don't know if that made any difference. Oh. Okay. For some reason, this seems to be working. Okay, there's a, like, I don't know, 10 seconds delay on the stream for me, so it's really difficult to test, but it sounds like we have sound now. No pun intended. Just gonna wait for it to confirm. All right, and okay, let us just get started then. So, you should be able to see my Affinity photo right here. I don't think you can see the cursor. Maybe not. I'm just gonna mute myself so I don't listen to myself all the time. But yeah, please just setting things up a bit. There we go. So, if you have watched my videos on how to make a dungeon, where's the camera over there? Hello. You would know that one of the first things we need to do is create the history of the dungeon. And for that, I have a few ideas already. So I thought this dungeon could be a smuggler's den, an old smuggler's den. And the idea is basically that we have like this little hut out in the woods, and underneath that hut we have this whole like complex of like a whole dungeon, a dungeon complex, if you will, underneath this little hut. So it's sort of like, think of it like the mushroom. So we have like the mushroom on the ground, and then there's a whole like mycelium network underneath that is much larger than the thing above ground, or something like that. Oh jeez, we don't want that. Sorry about that. So maybe we should have something like the general idea. The general idea is small hut in the woods, hiding a dungeon. All right, so the first thing we want to do is to create the story or the history of the dungeon. And the reason why I want to do that is because it's going to basically inform everything else about the dungeon, what it's going to look like, what kind of rooms we're going to have in it, the visuals, the appearance, the descriptions, everything is going to be determined by the history. So, it is a smuggler's den. The first question we need to ask regarding the history is, who built the dungeon? And I guess the question is already answered. So I guess the first entry in the history could be gang of smugglers. I guess took over a cottage in the woods and built a hideout underneath. Maybe we can even go further back than that. We could say that this whole place started out like sort of like a cottage, like herbalist or something live in the woods. Cottage used by an herbalist out in the woods. Cool. All right. So we have this gang who then takes over. Maybe they inherit it or something. Let's say they inherit it. Gang of smugglers. It doesn't have to be so violent. They inherit a cottage in the woods and then build this hideout underneath. Now, of course, we don't necessarily want. Sorry if my chair is creaking. We don't necessarily want the. How do you say? Is it even? Can we even read what's going on? I think you can. Okay. So we don't necessarily want smugglers to be the enemies in a dungeon. So the smugglers are out. They are gone, and I thought they could be replaced by just like creatures, like beasts, like monstrosities that has moved in since. So we have this dungeon that is just full of like nothing like morally ambiguous, no gray zones here. You can just kill everything that's in this place and be happy about it without having to think about killing people so much. So I guess at one point the smugglers left. And we could say I already had some ideas about this. Like when I thought about this, my head just started spinning with all these ideas. So how about one of the smugglers, like they were doing great business, just smuggling stuff, but then one of them got greedy and did an actual robbery, stole something. Where's the smugglers? Stole a treasure. And that was sort of like, that's what brought about the downfall. One of the smugglers stole treasure, bringing about the downfall. There we go. So the law caught up with them. They were put in jail or something like that, or chased away, and they had to abandon the place. So that's why the smugglers are no longer there. Then, over time, creatures, beasts, and monstrosities. I can't spell when I'm spelling out loud. Monstrosities. Moved in. Cool. All right. And that's basically where we are today. This is a very small story for a dungeon. It could be much longer, but it is going to be a little dungeon. Like, I don't intend spending like weeks on this. I want to see some progress during the stream. Okay, so I think that's the history. That's going to introduce some characters. So what we're basically going to see in the dungeon is this dilapidated place that was once inhabited by people, and now it's full of monsters. There's going to be some interesting encounters, maybe with like poisonous centipedes or something like that. Exciting. But that would be like the history of the place littered all over the place. There'll be like leftovers, like belongings from the smugglers. There'll be like letters and such between them, so you can sort of like uncover the history of the dungeon while you are well in this, basically. Let I just see. I don't know, maybe adding that to the title changes something. Okay, so that is good. Do we need anything else? I mean, that video I made was like very long and laborious as well about how to create a dungeon, but again, this is just a little small project. I think we're kind of good with this. So we could write the next bit. So this is 18. We can call this rooms, because that's another rumor. This is another important part of creating the dungeon. Figure out what kind of rooms do we need in here. So it's an old smuggler's den. It's not like a paradise for creatures anymore. So what would smugglers need? Well, I guess they would need like sleeping quarters. They'll probably need a cooking place, a kitchen, if you will. Like storage rooms for the like the goods they were smuggling and such. Also had this idea that the entrance to this dungeon could be inside the cottage. So the cottage is basically like this front for the smuggler's den, and maybe the entrance to the smuggler's den could be through the fireplace. So if people like if the city guards or something like that comes in and looks for something suspicious, who would think to look behind the flames? I mean, it's a little bit inconvenient if you are in a hurry, I suppose. But it's fun. It's D&D. But then I also thought there could be a second entrance to this dungeon. There could be this like secret, almost like cargo bay or something like that, out in the like the vegetable garden, where they could like lower this large hatch, maybe bring in a small wagon, something for like the big stuff, like the big hauls, instead of having to push everything down through the secret passage in the fireplace. So what do we call that? Loading bay? Loading bay, I suppose. What else? Slim quarters, kitchen, storage, loading. Maybe some kind of like the boss's office. The gang boss office. Where they keep all the important papers, ledgers, that kind of stuff. What else could we use? Let us see. What do you need? Maybe like a common area or something like that, where you could just hang out. Like a common room. Would they need a practice area as well? Someone to like practice their skills, perhaps? Maybe like just like having, I don't know what, I mean, well, I guess they are criminals, but they're not like criminals in the sense that like they're stealing from people until the end. But maybe they would still want to learn how to like pick locks, like tie knots and stuff like that. Skills. What skills would you need for like for being a smuggler? You know what? Maybe it doesn't make super sense. Super sense. Maybe it won't make super sense. But we can still include a training room. Well, it's just like this row of like padlocks where you can like just practice lock picking in a row or something like that. Stupid stuff like that. I guess this is fine amount. I mean, they'll probably have more than one storage room, so this is probably fine. What should we call the dungeon? It could be called something like infested. Infested smugglers den. That seems all right. Okay. I think this might be enough writing for now. Let us move on to the map itself. It's a bit revealing. So this is the document that I am using for the drawing itself of the dungeon. As you can see, I already prepared with a grid. So the size of this is like an A3 size document. I feel it's a good size, because if you think about it, maps for D&D needs to fit like within one page of like a normal D&D book, which is about an A4 size page. So if you double that and then shrink it down, then it should be good. It should be good. You should be able to get enough details without like having details squashed so much when it's compressed into one page, if that makes any sense at all. So it's kind of like the standard that I've been using for a while. In case you don't have like presets, it's like about 5,000 by 3,500 pixels, if you want to know. So I have also divided up in this grid. for now. Again, I think this is... I should probably just make like a template grid, because I always need to make the grid from scratch. So maybe I shouldn't do that. But this grid, like the size of the grid, basically depends on how large your dungeon is going to be. If it's just going to be like a cottage or like a house of 4 rooms or something like that, maybe you want like larger squares than that. But so there's no real like hard rule for the size of the grid. I just think this looks all right for what I want to be doing. So yeah, that's always that. But let's start by making the grid. And let's see how thick we want this grid to be. Like 1.5. Maybe. Can you do that? Like that. Ooh. This looks all right. This looks fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy it, move it over. This is basically the only time like I'm really using the grid to just get the actual grid down. I'll just speed up the process a little bit. This is the riveting stuff that you came here to see. This like dungeon crafting. Just I guess it might be because I think we can leave this one out. I guess it might be because, you know, this is the back end. The back end. I built on this. This is sort of like the nitty-gritty part of making it. I don't know what I'm saying. Maybe you are. Oh no, what did I do? Maybe you are entertained by this. I guess it's kind of the purpose of the stream to like show the slow process of making a dungeon. That looks pretty good. Looks like a bit of a mess, but if we start by not showing the grid anymore, then we'll take all of these curves and rise and merge. There we go. We have our grid. And I didn't select the grid. There we go. We have the grid. And maybe I should lock the background. Let's call this grid. And maybe keep it at 10%. Seems all right. Seems fine. Good. We now have our grid. Great progress. So, actually, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. Just so excited to make the grid. First off, we actually need to make something else. It might have other names. I learned it by the name of a Melan diagram. Again, if you see in my video on dungeon crafting, you probably recognize it. This looks good. So basically, a Melan diagram is like the most basic representation of a dungeon. You basically boil everything down to the, I guess you could call it the skeleton of the dungeon. It's basically a diagram that shows all possible avenues of exploration, if you will. Maybe I should show an example. So, for example, the entry point of a dungeon could look like this. So you start by drawing an arrow like this, and then we do a little arrow thing. So this is basically indicating this is the entry point of the dungeon. And then we can draw a corridor that goes like this. Now, again, the Melan diagram doesn't show like a one-to-one representation of what the layout of the actual dungeon is going to be. It's sort of like, think of it as a subway map, if you will. It sort of like shows what is here and how you get to places, but not necessarily in a like a geographically accurate way. So the lines obviously represent paths in the dungeon. Well, I don't know if it's obvious. So if we let's start by we could draw like a square like this. So this basically means that we have a circle, like a circuit in the dungeon, which is a ring of rooms that contain more than 3 rooms. So the whole point of the Milan diagram is to show like like options in exploration. So if you basically have like, okay, you go into one room and then you can choose to go into the next room. That's not really like options in that. I don't know if this makes any sense. I'm trying to explain Milan diagrams. So basically, if you have 3 rooms, then you start out in the first room, then you can choose to go to room number 2 or room number. Well, I don't know why you start. Maybe, yeah. Okay. Jeez. You can choose room number 2 or room number 3 to progress into. And then those 2 rooms are connected, but there's not really much choice. Like if you go in there, then you're going to head directly into room 3 afterwards. There's not much of a difference in the exploration experience. If you have 4 rooms, then when you get to room 1, you can choose to go to room 2 or 3. But then I don't know if it makes any sense. You basically need more than 3 rooms to have an actual like circle on the Milan diagram, because that represents actual exploration options. I hope that makes any sense. Also, if we like draw like, I don't know what I did there. If you draw like a branch like this doesn't mean that there's like one room you can go off to. Since we showed on the Milan diagram, again, it means that there's an option, a choice of direction, of navigation, if you will. So this means that there are at least 2 rooms in a row here. So if people go into the first room, they will either be able to go back where they came from or progress into the next room. If there was just one room, you could go into the room and your only option is to go back out of it. That's not really like, you don't make any choice in your navigation of the dungeon because you don't have a choice, basically. But if you have like one room that you can go on to, or you can choose to go back, then you make that decision. I mean, it's not super complicated, but it just helps to visualize the dungeon in a weird way. It makes a lot of sense when you've done it a few times. Let's just do some Milan diagramming then. What do we want? So I think that they're probably going to come down from the chimney. Should that be in the middle of the dungeon? Should the dungeon sort of like, I guess it would make sense to have the dungeon kind of spread around. So we are going to start by grabbing the entry point. I guess we have 2 entry points now. How did it do that? There we go. So it's going to start here. And then think it would be kind of cool to have like this circle, like this circuit of rooms around it. So when you get down from there, you obviously get into the kind of room, which connects to the circuit. And then we can do something else. We can make another connection. This means you can basically go 2 ways, but we can do something with this one, because in the Milan diagram, you can also make it a dotted line. Let's see what looks best. Yeah, that's good. So a dotted line represents a secret passage. So this means that this passage is hidden from both sides, basically. So when you get down from the, I guess, technically the entry point itself is also a secret entrance because it's come through the, what's it called, the chimney. So I guess we would indicate it's a secret path that leads in. Then there's the obvious path that leads out into this circuit of rooms. Oh, this makes sense. But there's also a secret path that leads into another part of the circuit. Okay, so we're starting to have something here. We have at least 4 rooms in the circuit. So we should have some branches. So we talked about having that loading bay. So that means like that's going to be a second entry point to the dungeon. And that is part of the jackasing method, if you want to call it that, which is all about having interesting options for exploration. I guess this would also be a secret instance. So we'll do it like this. So things like, instead of having a dungeon with 1 entrance if you have a dungeon with like an alternate entrance, then suddenly there's like a reward for people who want to explore. Maybe they figure out, oh, there's another entrance, and maybe they find the first entrance, and they're like, oh, we have 2 entrances we can choose from, which makes it just more interesting to explore the dungeon instead of just having the straightforward way, going up to the front door, going in. So yeah, we could have this over here. It doesn't really matter where we put it in the Milan diagram, because again, it doesn't really correspond to the what's it called? Doesn't correspond to the geographical layout of the dungeon. So we're going to that. So basically, this is a path that leads into the loading bay, and then there's a secret entrance to the loading bay outside. So that's why this is represented as a line, because technically you have the option when you're in the loading bay to either go back from where you came from or go out of the loading bay into the vegetable garden. Okay. How many rooms did we need? Sleeping quarters, storage, kitchen. Let us just add some stuff to this. Again, we don't want the most complicated diagram, because it should be a super long dungeon. So this could be a branch where we can have like, sort of like maybe the common room, and then that leads on to like the boss office, the gang boss office. But I also think we should have like a secret, something secret. So let's just add like a branch over here, and we can make this secret. So this could be like where the treasure is hidden. Let's call this treasure room. So the idea is that the smugglers, that downfall was that one of them stole this treasure, and then then the smugglers were arrested and taken away, but the treasure's still there. So there's still this like reward at the end of the dungeon for the players. So maybe there will be some kind of, maybe this secret passage will be very hidden, but there's a clue to how to get into it if you go into the boss office down here. Maybe we should, I don't know, add some text to this so we know what's up. Is there anything else we want? I think this is a very simple layout, but again, it's supposed to be simple. I don't know what this layer does. Just going to delete that and move all of these into a folder. Called the Milan diagram. There we go. Okay. So this is the, it's very small as well. Can we just, yeah, sure. This is the layout of the dungeon, sort of, in a way. Okay, let us bring the grid back, and then us begin on the next part. What should we call this? Dungeon walls. So now let us begin drawing the dungeon walls. Let us actually start maybe with a cottage. That's a neat little thing to do. Let's put up here like away from the rest of it. Cottage. Actually, let me bring back the grid for a moment. Okay, so let us just draw a cottage. A terrible place to start. And we don't want it to be dotted. Maybe that's, is that weird? A weird little thing. Maybe. Or maybe we could do, yeah. Let's not make it like super symmetrical. Just a little cottage. There we go. I imagine the door will be somewhere here, then we have the fireplace over here, and that will be the entrance into the dungeon itself. Maybe this is like a cozy little nook or something where you can have like a bed or something. So yeah, okay, that is the cottage. The cottage has been sorted. And we'll move it under the dungeon walls. There we go. Okay, now we need to get some walls going for the actual dungeon. So let us start with the point of entry. Sort of like just in the middle of everything. We'll put it here. This is the entrance that basically corresponds to this place. So when you go through here, you end up here. So what do you emerge into? So you get into the fireplace, you squeeze yourself down, or maybe there's a little ladder, you get down there. Do you get into a room immediately? Maybe it would make sense to have a room immediately to sort of like load off like easy burdens or something like that. So let's do this. How large would all these rooms be? Something like this. Yeah, I usually tend to make things quite symmetrical. Let's try not to do that this time. Okay, so you basically get down here, and then there's this little room where you can sort of like pass down sacks of contraband stored here, and then it can be carried out into the rest of the place. So this is obviously going to be a secret passage. Maybe we should just close it off immediately. Okay, so then this leads out, according to the line diagram, into the outer circuit. So what do you want immediately? So you'd bring down the goods. I guess storage rooms would be the most sensible thing to have to begin with. Like larger storage rooms. Let us just add a little bit more corridor. And then have like a storage room like this. And again, try not to be too symmetrical about this. Let us have, so basically bring in all stuff here. But why not continue down here? This is basically just like trying to figure out the layout. Trying to get something down on paper, but also trying to get something, like think about what would be interesting to explore. Okay. Let's give this a bit more space. Okay, so we have a secret. Why would there be like a secret door here? What would the purpose of secret passage be? Obviously some escape related stuff. So imagine that someone like intruders get down here and then they're making their way through the dungeon and then people want to escape. So what would be the room that they're going through? Maybe the sleeping quarters would make sense. So they have like an escape from where they are, where they're basically sleeping. Also, I guess we should also decide, is this all going to be like neat walls and such? I think it is. We could do like rough walls as well. Like it's really like dug out. I guess it is kind of dug out, but let's say they put like wooden boards on the walls to make it a bit more neat. Okay, so let us make sleeping quarters. We do it like this. Like imagine these like little nooks where you can have people sleeping in. Or something like that. I don't know how large is this gang anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4. How tall is the person? Like 5 feet. These squares are going to be tough. So we're gonna have like 2 beds in each of these, sort of. 2, 4, 6, 8. Maybe that's good enough. Make a little nook. Something like this. Alright. Sleeping quarters. So we have like these small nooks where people can sleep in. There's a little bit of space for maybe some tables and stuff. And then we have this like little like weird corner down here. So if there were to be a fight in here, which there might be, you have sort of like some corners and stuff to play with. Now, according to our Milan diagram, this also needs to connect to something further up. But we could do something. I mean, we should never restrict ourselves to the Milan diagram. Like, we can always change things. So if we take the Milan diagram, which is not super easily read as it is. I mean, we could just say that this part of the diagram, we're gonna make that a secret passage. We can do everything we want. So let us do that. Let us add a passage. Oh, it could be over here, so like behind someone's bed. There we go. Secret passage leading up to, let's just some kind of storage area. Like that. Okay, we also need the loading bay somewhere. Again, trying to think too much about the layout of the Milan diagram. So I guess it would be sort of like longer than it would be wide. So it's kind of basically like coming down from the garden. Let's see. Okay, so this basically, so the cottage is going to be like somewhere here. So we're gonna, this kind of fits. So we'll have the garden over here. Let's make it like 15 feet wide. Like that. Connect it up over here. Actually, can I? No, it's fine. It is fine. The loan bay, some storage area. Then we have this one. I guess we need a kitchen. I guess that would make sense to have it connected to the sleeping quarters. So let's just have a little connecting passage here. Oh, okay. How about, so we have the chimney here. What if we put the kitchen somewhere where it's close enough to the chimney so it actually connects to the chimney of the cottage? Because I mean, if you're going to make like a cooking fire underground, it's probably going to fill the whole place with smoke. So you would want it close to this because then you can have some clever pipes that basically makes the chimney of the cottage work as the chimney for the kitchen. You know what? That's a good idea. So we are going to put the kitchen over here. Let's have like a slightly wide fireplace. Oh, yeah, it's a small again. They don't need like a grand kitchen or anything. But we also need to keep in mind that there might be need for fighting. Let's do like a diagonal down here. Some fighting. So okay, so we have a kitchen. I think we are going to grab the camera. Is it allowed? Yes. Put the loading bay. So we have this. So let's make it so that the loading bay is somewhere over here instead. Something like this. Oh, you know, again, we're not beholden to the Milan diagram. So we just put it over here. We'll put it right there. Good enough. Okay. Then this needs to connect. This is the riveting part of creating a dungeon. Very visually pleasing. Yeah, let's have a corner. We've not had corridor corners so far. So smoke goes in there. We have this here. Then we have the loading bay over here. Let's just throw it in our storage room. Like that. Connect it to the kitchen. Connect to the loading bay. So we're beginning to see this circuit. So we need basically the rest down here. So let us have the common room down here. Again, we can do some side walls like this. Doesn't have to be super. And then do like a really annoying angle. Like that. That's a common room. And then we can have the branch off. So if we have the common room, then we need. Oh, it could be really annoying to have like a diagonal corridor. Should we? Why not? Everyone's gonna hate it. Especially the DM. Especially me trying to make this match up. Something like that. Yeah, sure. Okay, so this leads down to the I guess this kind of the private sanctum of the boss of the gang. But that would be another room in between, because otherwise we wouldn't have the line on the Milan diagram. And now all of a sudden we are completely beholden to the Milan diagram. We can't, everything needs to revolve around it now. Let's just add this little room that is basically just like a guard room. You have like one person sitting in here, two people guarding the entrance to the boss office. And it can look something like, how grand should this be? Well, the hallmark of a grand room is diagonal walls. Okay, now it's a little bit tight packed, which is fine. So we have this here. So we need a room down here. So we have, go back here, we have the loading bay sorted. We have the kitchen, sleeping quarters, gang office, common room. Oh yeah, we need the training room. Training room. Guess we could do something like this. Just a regular old room. Good old room. Like that. And then we need the treasure room. Okay, so how much storage do they actually have? So they have the loading bay, this, 2 rooms, 3 rooms for storage. We'll add another one. Actually, let's do something crazy here. Let's add a circular room. Because why not? Connect it up. There we go. And this needs to connect to the. Oh, okay. Oh, please, that's a bit too much. This is kind of fine. Basically have. What does this look like? That's good enough. Basically have like these 2 corridors come together and joining up in the entrance to the same room. That's fine. That's fine. And then we have a branch. So we have down here to keep things somewhat compact. This little weird room down here, which is actually just hiding this secret room, which is sort of like the vault where the really expensive stuff is kept. So it's basically like, maybe there's like this little shrine down here. They have this little altar with some candles and little like figurines of gods. And then if people were like intruders coming out, like, this is just where they pray. It's useless. All the figurines are made of clay. Not knowing that right behind that you have the actual the money room. Okay, I think we should check. We have the treasure room, we have the train room, comm room, gang room, we have the loading bay, we have the storage room, kitchen. All right, we are good then. Again, if you were not doing this on a stream, you'd probably be a bit more thorough with all of this. Oh shit, what is this? It needs to be empty. You'll probably be a bit more thorough with all of this. But since this is a stream, we're just going to be a little bit quick about it. There we go. Very neat. We can now disable the Milan diagram to make things a little bit more easy to read. We can remove the grid. And there we have it. Job done. If we can find a little bit better place for this. Maybe something like here. Keep copying it. I just want to move it. So this is kind of neat. It's kind of compact. It's complex. So the whole thing, like with the Milan diagram, basically it makes us conscious of making exploration more interesting. So like if you start down here, then you go into this here, then you are faced with two different branches. If you go this way, it'll lead you all the way around here. If you go down here, it'll lead you into this room. They can take you all the way around. But there are also like these branches down here. So basically like the choices you make in a dungeon makes your experience in there different. Maybe not like revolutionarily different. It's not like it's a whole new game or something like that. And I mean, you're probably only ever, as a player, going to run through the dungeon once. But the fact that you are not just faced with one room after the next with no choice makes the exploration more enjoyable. Just trust me on that. Okay, so this is a good place to be right now. Let us begin to paint the dungeon. So for that purpose, I have some template. I don't know if you can see this. Okay, can't. I can just throw them in there to show you. So I have some tiles that I made for other places, other dungeons. You've probably seen these if you've seen the video. I'm just gonna keep plugging that video, those two videos. So these are basically like texture tiles, which can be used to like make the floor of the dungeon. So this is going to be underground. So I think the area around the dungeon is going to be dirt. I'm thinking maybe some stone floor most of the place, but maybe also some wooden floor. And I don't have wooden floor textures right now, so that might be a good opportunity to show how I do that. But first, let me show you how I use these tiles in this program. If you're using something else, it might be different. So basically, the first thing I do is I choose the one that I need. So this is the dirt tile. And then I can go up, if I can remember where it is, layer. Then I want a pattern layer from selection. And that makes this. Okay, basically delete this one now. So we have this pattern layer that basically just like fills everything up. And that's not very useful. We don't want everything to be dirt. We can also like change the size of the pattern. So I think we're going to, it's going to be like the outside dirt. We can increase a little bit, something like that. Good. What I then like to do, I think I'll press cat lock. I like to make some mask layers. Okay, so this mask layer, just go to draw a little bit to make sure that it actually works. So if I turn this into a mask layer, I can take the pattern and make it subordinate to that one. That means that I can basically just like draw the texture. However, I'm not wearing glasses. I'm doing the gesture. I'm adjusting my glasses, not wearing them. So yeah, so now we basically have like this thing called dirt. And we can basically completely decide where we want the dirt to be. So everything is going to be drawn on top of that. So we don't need to be very careful with it. So we can just grab a large brush. Maybe we want to get rid of this first. It's not very pretty. This is super effective. I probably would be using my tablet for the drawing instead of like a mouse. But since I'm streaming, it's going. I don't know. Maybe it would be a mess, but who knows? Patience. I'm just gonna draw a little bit. Now that we actually get to the actual drawing part of the dungeon. So this is what you all paid for. Something. I don't know. Yeah, something like this. That's fine. I mean, we can always add to it if you want to. There we go. Very neat. Obviously, the cottage is not going to be surrounded by that. It's going to be surrounded by grass, and I don't have a grass tile either, so I probably also need to make that. So that is that layer. Let us see. I think the large tile stones is probably best for this because it's a little bit rough. It looks like Smart's kind of like found rocks out in the forest, cut them in half, and turned them into this magnificent texture. So we will make another pattern layer. And then we will make again, just want this to be visible so I can see what's going on. And then it's a mask layer and move this. There we go. Oh yeah, also for some reason, when you're doing this in Affinity, the color that you choose to draw with will show up somewhere in the grid. So an easy fix to that is just make sure that your brush is sort of like roughly the same color. Oh, should I go that far? Roughly the same color as the text that you're using. That might be a better solution for that, but it is a solution that works. It's not super important. So for our other stuff, we can call this cobblestone floor. Cobble floor. Let us select like gray color like that. Good. Now, of course, we don't need this to be all over the place. So where do we need stone to be? At least in the landing area. They're bringing goods in this place. So you want to make sure that, hang on a second. You want to make sure that, there we go. You want to make sure that the goods that you bring in are not damaged by handling. Something like that. I don't know. So I'm just going to do this. Select where I want the stone floor. I mean, could keep going. Oh, I completely forgot. This might be a little, like these are huge boulders they found out in the woods. But that should be an easy fix to that. Hopefully. Yes. We'll just scale it down. Now, this looks really repeating, and that's fine because we can always add details to it afterwards. That. And yeah, that. How much do we want from that? And for some time, I think this is basically like the basic. We're laying down the foundation of the dungeon. Like once we have the floor patterns or the floor textures, we can begin to add stuff. So anyway, how should I been? I want some wooden floors. The cottage needs wooden floor, so maybe we should do that as something else to do. So I have prepared this one. This is the tile creation place where we create the tiles. The first thing we want to do, so basically this is 512 by 1200, not 1200, 512 by 512 pixels. The size depends on what you need. So you, like, the larger you make the tiles, the more you have to scale them down in your dungeon map, which means that details are just going to get lost. But you also want to have it a little bit light so we can actually add the details. Okay, no mind. Let us make some wood. So this is like an old place. It's going to be like dark and desaturated. I don't know if this helps at all. Okay. I think this color is going to fit. We can always change it afterwards when we are applying it. So yeah, okay. Then we need some floorboards. And again, how you do this depends on your style. You could draw it all by hand. I have done so in the past. But right now, like due to streaming, let's just do it like this. How much can I do without having to use the tablet? Something like that. Does a shadow make any sense? Could be. Basically just looking for something that shakes things up a little bit. That's probably like a proper way to lay wooden floor, and this might not be it. But who cares? Okay. I guess since I'm doing it this symmetrically, I could probably have accounted for this, but it's fine. Okay, that's good. Then let us add some stuff on top of it. Let us draw with a pencil. Maybe. The forever difficult task of drawing authentic wood, I guess. That's not great. This is where the truth come out. I'm actually not an artist. again, this is going to be like reduced to about this size or something like that. So it's just to give some texture to it. And then just hide behind the fact that we're going to scale this incredibly. Yeah, it's fine. To give the suggestion that there are like lines in the order or something. It might even be like actual brushes for this. Okay, then let us add some like grimy details to it. It's a little bit darker. Lower the opacity a little bit. I like. Add some of this. Add some texture to the texture. This doesn't look too bad from a distance. Let us move on to the next part. Let me see if I remember this. I think we need to take all of this and put in a folder. Call all of this, and then we'll copy the folder so we have a backup. And then I think we need to, I might be wrong here, but I think we need to merge all of this. Where are we? There we go. Okay, so there is a function. Let us see if I remember. It's a while ago. Was it on filters? I think it was something like this. Now, I guess it would be a good idea to have looked this up first. Or I could watch my own video. Installed. Oh yeah, equations. Okay, so we know that the size of this tile is 512 pixels. That means that half of that is 256. So if we add 256 plus 256, and we need to repeat. That doesn't look right. Wrap. We need to wrap. So basically this, what we're doing now is that we are looking at what this tile looks like if we are like actually tiling it, if we're putting it next to others. And as you can see, this doesn't line up very good. So we need to fix that. So we press apply, and then we try to fix it. So we definitely need a better seam here. I guess we could just steal it from down here. Like this. Something like this. Looks a bit better. And all these planks basically line up fine. We just need to make the like the space where they do it more uniform. So you don't notice it. All right, we can also add some. The only thing we need to remember is that whatever we do can't touch the edges, because then we're going to have like redo all of this. Again, this doesn't look too bad. Good. Okay, then we can test if it still tiles correctly. So we got filters, distort, equations, and basically reverted. So minus 256 and oh shit, we need to bring these two together. Merge selected. There we go. Distort equations. Oh, it was minus this time. And wrap. And this shows that this neat line, it tiles neatly. I mean, the middle here is a little bit weird, but it's good enough. So we will apply. And this means that we now have a tile that is tileable. Save this. I guess we just copy it directly over. Probably. Yeah, there we go. So now we have our wooden floor tile. And we are going to make a pattern layer out of the selection. And then we'll make draw a little bit up here. Turn this into a mask layer, use our pattern. And there we go. Oops. So we'll need this one. And probably need to make the floorboards a little smaller. Something like that. Good. And now we can draw to our heart's content. Just add the floorboards. Like that. Probably don't want floorboards inside the actual fireplace, but that's fine. It's cool. And we can call this wooden floor. And add it under the textures. And again, this needs to be on top of the dirt, because everything is on top of the dirt. We don't need this one. Okay. Where do we want the wooden floorboards to be? I think the sleeping quarters would be a nice place to have them as well. So let us do that. Riveting stuff. And we can just fill it. There we go. Maybe they're a little bit large, the floorboards, compared to the rooms. But again, it is no hassle at all changing that up. I also think that the boss room and such, the boss room, probably also benefit from wooden floor. So like the cozy areas, I suppose. The cozy areas of the smuggler's den. They deserve it. They truly deserve it. That was a mistake. There we go. Drawing in the floor manually over here. Maybe, I mean, given that it is like an abandoned old place, maybe the floorboard is a bit too vibrant. So let us add a filter on it. Just desaturate it a little bit. And just continue doing what we do best, filling in the floor. Why is this a different color? That makes no sense. Was it just am I crazy? Does it change color here? Oh, right. I see. There we go. It is because I colored the riveting stuff. I think I colored on top of the actual pattern layer instead of the like using the pattern layer instead. So yeah, that is the explanation for that. Just adding more floorboards. It's kind of cozy. Where else do we want floorboards? We could have floorboards in the circular room just to change things up a little bit. Now we're really enjoying the effect of having to fill in a circle instead of square rooms. Just matter if it splits out a little bit. Always fix it. Always change it. There we go. What's this? Sometimes I don't understand what's going on in this program, and that's fine. There you go, some more floorboards. And now let us fill out. So the kitchen, why not have some brick-like stuff going on in there? So again, make pattern layer. turn it into a mask layer and grab our pattern. There we go. We call this brick floor. And again, well, let's just paint a little. Paint a little more. Yeah, these bricks are too big. So go into the pattern and just shrink it down. This is good. And just go crazy. Cool. All right. So we have some bricks in there. I guess we want some other places with brick floor because it's kind of neat. Let's put it in the vault as well. Should also have this. Yeah, so this was supposed to be this like fake shrine to deter intruders from finding the vault. So we'll put brick floor in here as well to make it sort of like this little ceremonious. Cool. Then we have a lot of brick, weird cobblestone floor. I think we can use more of that. I don't know, there's something looks a bit odd about it. Maybe the size of the pattern needs to be smaller. Maybe. Does that improve? Might have. You know, let's just put this floor in the rest of the remaining rooms. We can always change it if we want to. It's even easier to change it after we actually laid it down because we can just fill it in. Copper floor, yes. Good. And up here as well. Perfect. And oh, we have this little. Should this be brick? Let's make it cobblestone. Okay, so we now have floors in the entire dungeon, which is nice. I am going to delete. We could use this if we wanted some also, but it's fine. It's fine. Okay, we don't have the grass up here, and already made one tile, so maybe shouldn't spend time on that. So we will just make some placeholder grass instead. And use a brush that is kind of greenish. So this needs to be above the dirt, but below everything else. Just to show that this cottage it's kind of like part of its own little thing up here. It's on the outside. The rest is down below. Beautiful. Just imagine that as a beautiful grass texture. Okay, we got some stuff going on here. Oh shit. We have this passage. Cobblestone? Cobblestone. No floor. Means the players are gonna fall through the world. Can't have that. There we go. Now we're okay. So that is the first part. Now it actually looks sort of nicer. This dirt layer, I feel it's a little bit too bright. Kind of like want the rooms to stand out as much as possible compared to what surrounds them. Not too much. Something like that. There-ish. There. Alright. Yeah, we have some stuff now. Then I think it is time for some other housekeeping. Another grid. We have the dungeon walls. I guess we can take the Milan diagram, just throw it in the back. Let us add the exciting world of area labels. So we'll just do the good old regular circle. Usually I just make it like so it fits within one square. And we'll make the center white and the outside black. What does that look like? A bit too thick. Like that. All right. Then I also like to add a shadow, an outer shadow. A little bit like that. Not too intense. Just to give a little suggestion that this is, maybe that's even too much shadow. Too much shadow. A little bit down in intensity. Just a little bit. Something like that. Very good. And then we need a number. On top of it. And this is our little like label thing for each room. Of course, the cottage is going to be area number 1 because that is where you enter, basically. And then you get into all the rest of the dungeon. But let's find a nice font. So this is a Smuggler's Den. I always try to find a font that kind of like fits the theme of the dungeon while still being readable. And I already have one in mind. It's a classic. Oh, not. It's the classic UD Digi Koi. Yes, you know what I mean. It was the Viner's Hand instead. It just has, I don't know, something rustic about it. And you can see it says 1, so that's plus. I guess we could give the give it a little bit of color. Not too much. Kind of like slightly yellowish, something like that. Just make it a little cozy, something. There we go. Okay, so there we have it. And we'll move it into the area labels and just do the tedious job of copy pasting it all over the place. This just has to be done. This is going to be room number 2, and I think we're going to number it in the order that I think people are going to be exploring it. Oh, hello. It's like super slow to look in the chat. What room are you working on? Kind of like everything right now. I'm basically just like laying down the groundworks of the dungeon. I can give you a little tour of the dungeon, if you will, while I label stuff. So basically, this is the cottage that is above ground, where this is the secret entrance to the dungeon. There'll be a fireplace over here, and the way you get into this Smuggler's Den that has been built below the cottage is by going through fireplace, which will send you to this place. And now this being a smuggler's den, they need storage. So this is basically like the front storage room. And over here in this long room, that is storage room number 2. Very exciting. And I'm going to try to like label them in the order that I think people are going to explore them, because it's going to make it easy for the dungeon master when preparing for it. But I guess I have 2 choices here. Are they going to go down here? Are they going to go up here? I think these rooms are probably going to be the last rooms that they explore. So let us go clockwise. That means this up here is going to be room number 3. And this is the loading bay. It's going to be the secret like a ramp out in the vegetable garden. Imagine there could be some, maybe there's like a scarecrow that if you pull the scarecrow, this ramp opens up, leading down into the smuggler den's like loading bay for more like heavy goods that they're smuggling in. I think this room was just another storage room. Then we have the kitchen, which is indicated by the nice brick floor. Up here, probably another storage room. Then here, we have the sleeping quarters. We have these little nooks where we can have like push some beds in. And yeah, just looks really cozy down here. Then we have the common room where all these smugglers can hang out and play card games and such. And let us go this way then. So this down here is going to be this little like front room, sort of like the secretary. If these smugglers have secretaries, I don't know. Which then leads to this room, which is the gang, the smuggler gang boss's office. This one, you might think is another storage room, but it's in fact not. It is the training room. So if you're a smuggler, you need different skills. You need to be able to like pick locks, I imagine. Maybe like talk to like officials and such. And this is basically a room where they do all the training. So there's like all these padlocks on the wall where you can just like lockpick to your heart's content. Maybe they have this little like fake like what's it called, like a tall booth where they can like role play situations that smugglers do. So it's like very professional outfit with dedicated training facilities for that. Then we have this large circular room that I have no idea what's going to be yet. Whoops. Then this is going to be a fake shrine, which is basically going to be the front for this secret room back here, which will be the vault where the smugglers keep the most valuable things. So the story of this dungeon started out by creating that. It's basically that it used to be this cottage out in the woods. Then someone from a gang of smugglers inherited the cottage, and they built this hideout underneath it. But then at one point, one of the smugglers got very greedy and sort of like crossed. There was this like fine line. We're smuggling. If you're a smuggler, you're basically like stealing from the government, I guess, by not paying tariffs and such. So it's sort of like this little bit, like, kind of like Robin Hood kind of thing going on. But one of them went over the line and actually stole a treasure, and the other smugglers were like, "What the fuck?" And that led to that demise. Officials came after them. They were arrested, thrown in jail. Maybe they had to flee. Basically, they had to abandon this hideout. And then over time, it was like fell apart, became dilapidated, and all kinds of creatures and beasts and monstrosities moved in instead. So the dungeon today is not a smuggler's den. It is this underground, damp basement thing full of like giant centipedes with poisonous fangs and such. But the treasure is still there. The treasure is still in the vault, so there's still this big reward waiting at the end of the dungeon for intrepid explorers. Okay, so that was the first part. I just need to go back and change all these numbers. And the best thing about like cool fonts is that they like numbers never fit properly. It's just the best. Sometimes I do. And also like not real symmetrical fonts. It's fine. It's fine. So the system is going to be D&D 5th edition. Which is the system I play the most. But this is actually probably not going to feature in any of the actual campaigns I have running right now. This is just like a little creative dungeon side project. Maybe I should try to do a dungeon for, I don't know, Call of Cthulhu? Because there are never really good maps in any of the investigations you buy, so it would be kind of fun to set a new trend. Some good maps. Made an investigation at one point where I used the Egyptian theater from Hollywood. So I had to find like the old floor plans of the place, and they were just crazy to read. But not as crazy as when I made the investigation set on Titanic, which had even crazier floor plans. So 9, are we going to go this way? No, we're going to go down here. Something like that. And when we are, please. There we go. When we're done with this step, we can move probably on to adding furniture to the rooms. I think that would be the next step. So this is the very like visual part of creating a dungeon, as opposed to the probably the more laborious, time-consuming part of actually writing it. But I don't think you can make an interesting stream about just writing. Maybe I'm wrong. Just have like this Word document. I guess there's still the thought process and such, but I don't know. What do you think? Would you want to sit down for someone just like watching a Word document and text slowly filling the pages? All right, and just make sure I not mess them up. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that looks good. Okay, I am just going to change this floor up here because it kind of annoys me that there's wooden floor where the fireplace needs to be. So let's see, wooden floor, cobble floor. So the cobble floor needs to be above the wooden floor. And then we will draw some cobble floor. I guess we can do some rounded stuff. Oh, that's maybe too big. A. The 3 is just a 5 with a ponytail. I guess it is. I guess that's also the danger of using crazy fonts, is that sometimes it might not be too clear what the numbers are, but I think this is all right. Also given the number sequence. Okay, so let us move on to the furniture part, I think. And we're basically spoiled for choice where we want to start. So it's just where do we feel most confident. I guess we could add doors, but let's do something more interesting for some time. Let's go with the cottage. Okay, what do we need in the cottage? A table. We need a table in the cottage. Just gonna make a new folder. I call it props. And again, I would probably be using my tablet if I was doing this just by myself, but it's going to be a bit difficult with the screen sharing and stuff. So it is going to be entirely with the use of the old, if I can even bring it, this one. How big of a table do we need? Like something like that. And then the corners a little less aggressive. Color. So again, this has been abandoned for some time, so we don't want like super bright colors. Sort of like Imagine has kind of not rotted away, but kind of like it's not looking super pleasant anymore. Just trying to find a good base color. Something like that. Let's just call this table to begin with. And then we can add the outline. So basically the inspiration for the design, or like the way all of this is done, is the official Wizards of the Coast modules, but mostly the Curse of Strahd module, based like really looked at the art style and like the little things that they do to make that. Okay, so table. So right now it's a shape. So we need to rasterize it, and we need to keep this. Yes. Good, because now we can actually draw on it. So first of all, it's a wooden table. So we need something that looks like planks. Oh, and let's protect the alpha so we don't drop outside. Just get some lines in there. And then let's add some texture. Maybe lighter. Too aggressive. That's all right. And then we will add some dark lines to really indicate that this is like the divide between planks. Again, is it like, this doesn't look like a table, but if you zoom out like this, kind of looks like a table. This is, again, where it is exposed that I am not like very skilled in creating top-down furniture. But it's not bad. Let us add some more details to that. Is this one that's good? Yeah, let's add some. Someone spilled some wine, perhaps. Or blood. I mean, it doesn't fit the story of the dungeon that there would be blood on the table, so let's just say it's wine stains. And I guess no table should have the exact same stains. These stains seem a little bit aggressive. And let us just... Again, this seems a little bit too much. Something like that. Okay, and then the final detail. Something that they always do, at least in the old Wizards of the Coast maps and such, is just add black stripes. If I can get the right brush. So they have these little details, kind of like little grid stuff going on. It's not perfect. This is worse than before. I think they're too aggressive with the color. Just a little bit. Yeah, all right, that is good enough. That is a table. So that side grid. We have a table for the cottage. I think the door's going to be over here, so yeah, so like maybe we can move this knob up here. So just have like a table in the middle of the room. And maybe a bed. So the slow process of slowly adding assets to the map. So these squares represent 5 feet. So if I just made a bed like this, which would look, that would like kind of fit this little nook over here, but that would make like almost like a 10 feet long bed, which might be a bit too aggressive. Let me see, so a bed. I guess the base color would be kind of like whitish because it has the sheets on it. And again, it would not be that big. Maybe something like this. Cool. Okay. No stroke there. And then we are going to rasterize it. So we can draw on it. And I think we're going to add some where's the protected alpha? Like add some bed posts kinda to the sides. Yep, I'm happy with that. Then we can protect alpha. and find a good wooden color. Something like this. Maybe a bit darker. Yes, like that. Cool. It is the beginning of a bed. We will give it the black outline, which is also a signature of assets in these. Oh yeah, I know why the table looks crazy. I know why it doesn't look great. It's because I forgot to add shadow. Yes. And the bed also needs a shadow. Like, it's too much. There. Cool. This is a very simple bed. Let us add a pillow to this. But this pillow here is almost indistinguishable from anything else. But that is fine, because we are going to draw a little outline around it. So you can actually see it. Cool. It's a beautiful bed. Let us add a little bit of shading on it. Maybe that'll help. Like that. And like the bed sheet can probably get some texture. Pillow even. Yeah, that's it. Dirty it up a little bit. Yeah, something like that. It's this nasty bed. All right, that is a bed. And then I might think, is there something missing from that bed? And you might be right. Let us add a, that's the wrong color. Let us add a duvet. Or a blanket, or whatever. Yeah. There we go. A bed with a cover. Brilliant. Now, of course, we don't want them to just stand like super neatly in line here, but just like the original assets I like to keep in a neutral orientation because we're going to cover these quite a lot. So for example, we're going to have a kitchen down here. There's going to be tables down here. If they're going to have the cooking thing, oh yeah, we can have a table here as well. Oh, we need to make sure that the grid and the error labels are on top of the props. There we go. Where else could we have tables in here? Yeah, like maybe table like takes up a little bit of space. Like that. Probably also some tables down in the common room, which now looks really large compared to the tables. But that's fine. We're gonna maybe make some round tables as well. We need sort of like a desk for the chief. Sit over here. And of course, this is just like a lot of copy pasting, but we can always replace these with alternate assets. Let us. We can call this duvet or blanket. Blanket, perhaps more fitting. Let's get some beds into the common area. Sleeping quarter thingy thing. Like, it would be insane to have your bed in a corner like this, but it kind of looks better in a way. Like, why would you? It looks like the eyes of some crazy creature. Some more beds. Like, again, why would you put beds like this? I can stretch this a little bit. Kinda like that. Okay. Maybe the boss has his private bed in here as well. In the corner. Cool. We have two assets. Slowly filling out. And this is the actual work of making a dungeon. Creating all assets. Now, if I had done this more, I should probably make just like one thing where I can like copy and paste all my basic assets in, so I don't have to create them from scratch every time. But yeah, that's sort of like the thing. So I think the stream will probably end very soon. But before that, we can just do one more thing, and that is add the doors to the dungeon, which is another like little easy task. Basically just have to be done. If you can just get a group, and we can call it doors. So again, the traditional way that it is done at Wizards of the Coast is the white square with black siding. So that is a door. Like that. And then we just copy it to our heart desire. Very cool. Maybe this should be the training room instead, like nice wooden floor place. This door down here is actually a secret door. It is not the only secret door we have. We also have one up here. And probably here as well. And up here, a lot of secret doors. Of course, on the player version of this map, these doors won't be visible. This kind of seems redundant with all the doors. We're gonna remove some doors at some point. Do we need all these doors? I mean, we need some doors so we can have them locked as obstacles for the players and such. So I guess there's no reason why we can't have as many doors as we like. I guess it also makes it, well, I guess some of these doors might be open. We'll see. We shall see. Okay. Do you want doors over here? I guess. Yeah. Sure. And then I'll remove these walls. I'll break these walls. All right. So that is 2 hours of work. But I guess we got the more complicated stuff done. We got the layout done. We got the room set up. So we basically just need to fill it and make the map look nice. And then of course we need to write all the room descriptions. But again, I don't know if that is stream material, just having a Word document open. Maybe. I guess we can try it out. See if anyone would be interested in that. But I think this is good enough for today. The work of, and I haven't saved at all, which is frightening. Oh, we can do the last thing. One last thing. We give it the name. What was called infected. Infected Smuggler's Den. All right, that's cool. I guess next stream we could go into some more stuff with creating furniture and such, decorating the map. We also need to do the shadows and lighting map and the grime map and such to make it more like hide the fact that the floors are very textured and such. But yeah, for anyone who has joined along, thank you for joining in. Thank you for those who joined in the chat. And yeah, a nice little 2-hour stream. Cool. I think we'll end here. I don't know, maybe, I don't know, when will we stream again? Sometime later in this week, maybe, or maybe next week. We'll see. But yeah, that's it. If you want to see the process behind, I don't know, like the techniques behind creating dungeon, like not only like drawing the map, but also the sort of the initial stuff to kind of like get the history and the details of the dungeon down. I have 2 videos on how to make a dungeon, which kind of goes into quite a bit of detail about like the nitty-gritty stuff of creating a dungeon. So yeah, you can check those out. Otherwise, I hope you will join next time. So have a good evening. I'm going to go and throw myself on the couch and read some lesbian smut. It's actually just some fantasy, but it's fine.